Barack Obama was born on August 4, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii. His mother, Ann Dunham, was a white American from Kansas, and his father, Barack Obama Sr., was a black man from Kenya. When Barack was very young, his parents separated. His father returned to Kenya, and his mother later married another man. Barack grew up surrounded by love, but he also felt a deep sense of curiosity about who he was and where he truly belonged. As a child, Barack was quiet, thoughtful, and very smart. He loved to read. Books became his best friends. He enjoyed stories about faraway places, heroes, and big ideas. Growing up in Hawaii, he also learned about different cultures. His home was peaceful, but sometimes he wondered about his mixed heritage. He asked questions about race, identity, and the future. When Barack was 10 years old, he moved for a short time to Indonesia, where his mother was working. Living in Indonesia taught him a lot. He learned a new language. He saw people who prayed in mosques and others who prayed in temples. He baptized in a church later in America. He was open-minded and respectful to many beliefs. This childhood in two very different places shaped him deeply. Later, Barack returned to Hawaii to live with his grandparents. His grandmother, Madeline, and his grandfather, Stanley, loved him and supported his dreams. They encouraged him to study hard and to be humble. Barack attended Punahou School, a good private school in Honolulu. There, he met friends from many different backgrounds. He was not always the most popular boy, but he worked hard and kept his grades high. In high school, Barack discovered that he loved debating and discussing big ideas. He wanted to understand politics, justice, and equality. He realized that words had power. He realized that a speech, an idea, or a law could change people's lives. These thoughts lit a spark inside him. He wanted to help people. After high school, Barack went to college on the mainland United States. He first studied at Occidental College in Los Angeles. Later, he transferred to Columbia University in New York City. Columbia exposed him to even more worlds. He saw skyscrapers, streets full of energy, and people from all walks of life. He studied political science, focusing on international relations. He read about democracy, about wars, and about how nations work together. He knew that his life could be bigger than himself. He believed that his future could be used to make a difference. After college, Barack worked for a while in business, but he felt empty. He realized he did not just want to make money. He wanted to make a change. So, he moved to Chicago to become a community organizer. In Chicago, he worked with churches, with poor neighborhoods, and with people who had little power. He helped them find jobs, improve schools, and fight for better housing. He listened more than he preached. He believed that real leadership meant serving others. While working in Chicago, Barack attended Harvard Law School. He studied very hard, day and night. At Harvard, he became the first African American president of the Harvard Law Review, a very prestigious position. This was a big moment. It showed him that hard work, intelligence, and determination could break down barriers. After graduation, Barack returned to Chicago. He became a civil rights lawyer and taught at the University of Chicago. He also continued working with communities in need. He felt a deep responsibility toward the African American community, but also to everyone in his city. He believed that change came from understanding, from education, and from caring. In 1996, Barack entered politics. He ran for the Illinois State Senate and won. In the Senate, he worked on laws to help health care, education, and job opportunities. He believed in building bridges between communities, between political parties, and between people. He listened to his opponents, but he stood firm on his values. In 2004, Barack gained national attention. He spoke at the Democratic National Convention in Boston. His speech was strong, inspiring, and full of hope. He talked about unity, about the idea that America is not just one people, but many people, joined together by values. He talked about opportunity, about the future, and about the need to care for one another. That speech made many people believe in him. That same year, he won a U.S. Senate seat for Illinois. As a senator, he worked hard. He focused on ethics reform, on helping poor families, and on health care. He traveled all over the country, listening to ordinary Americans. He met teachers, nurses, veterans, immigrants, and young people. His humility was real. He always said that he learned from them. By 2007, Barack decided to run for president. Many people thought it was a bold move. He was young, he was black, and he had served in the Senate for only a short time. But he believed deeply in his message: change, hope, unity. He traveled across America, speaking in big cities and in small towns. He told stories of his childhood, of his mother, of his grandparents, and of ordinary people struggling to live their dreams. People loved his vision. They loved his honesty. They loved how he seemed like one of them, though he had lived in many worlds. In November 2008, Barack Obama became the 44th President of the United States. He was the first African American president in U.S. history. For many, this was a hopeful moment, a symbol that change was possible. His presidency was filled with many challenges. The world was in the middle of a deep economic crisis. Banks had failed. People were losing homes. Many were unemployed. Barack and his team had to act fast. He passed a major stimulus package to help the economy, to save jobs, and to rebuild confidence. He also worked on healthcare reform, education, and clean energy. One of his greatest achievements was the Affordable Care Act. This law made health insurance more affordable for many Americans. It gave hope to people who had no health care. For Barack, this was not just politics, it was personal. He knew what it meant when a family could not afford a doctor. He believed that health was a right, not a privilege. On foreign policy, Barack had to make tough decisions. He ended the war in Iraq, but he also had to send troops to Afghanistan. He believed in diplomacy. He reached out to old enemies and new friends. He signed a treaty with Russia to reduce nuclear weapons. He also worked hard with other countries to address climate change. Barack loved to speak to young people. He often said, "Yes, we can." This simple phrase became a slogan, a motto, and a way of life for many. He believed in the power of the youth, young people with courage, curiosity, and hope. He visited schools, met students, and encouraged them to dream big. His family was always important to him. His wife, Michelle Obama, was his partner in every sense. Michelle was smart, graceful, and strong. She had her own dreams, to become a lawyer, to help young people, and to inspire. Together, Barack and Michelle raised two beautiful daughters, Milia and Sasha. Despite all the pressures of the White House, they tried to keep family first. They laughed, they studied, and they learned together. Michelle often said that her husband's strength came from family, not just politics. Not everything was easy in his presidency. He faced fierce opposition. Some people did not trust him. Some criticized his choices. There were protests. There were failures. He made mistakes. But Barack believed that real leaders learn from mistakes. He believed in listening, reflecting, and improving. He admitted when he was wrong, and he tried to make things right. After winning a second term in 2012, Barack continued to push for progress. He worked on criminal justice reform, on equality for LGBT people, and on education. He wanted a more just America, one where people were judged by their character, not by their skin. He gave many speeches about fairness. He believed in hope over fear, and he often asked people to imagine a world where everyone had a fair chance. At the same time, he faced global crises, terrorism, climate change, world economies. He organized summits and working groups. He traveled to Africa, to Europe, to Asia. He met world leaders, but he also met ordinary citizens. He cared about the poor, the marginalized, and the voiceless. He believed that America had a duty not just to itself, but to the world. His presidency also saw moments of joy. In 2015, he welcomed many young visitors to the White House. He danced with Michelle at events. He read to children in the library. He showed that even a president could be gentle, playful, and warm. He smiled when he talked about his daughters. He was proud, but humble. In 2016, Barack's presidency came to an end. He left the White House with both sadness and pride. He had served 8 years, done his best, but knew there was still so much work left in the world. He was proud of his achievements, but he also felt the weight of unfinished dreams. After leaving office, Barack and Michelle did not just retire. They started new work. They wrote books. Barack worked on his memoir, sharing his personal thoughts, his fears, and his hopes. He worked through his foundation, helping young leaders across the world. He gave speeches, not as a politician, but as a guide, a mentor, and a voice of experience. He also believed in education. He supported scholarships, built libraries, and promoted civic engagement. He spoke about the importance of voting, of community service, and of speaking up. He often returned to schools to inspire young people to believe in themselves and in the power of democracy. Barack's legacy grew over time. He became a symbol, not just of political success, but of possibility. He showed that a boy born in Hawaii, with a mixed heritage and an ordinary life, could become the leader of the free world. He showed that hope matters. He showed that kindness matters. He showed that change matters. But more than that, Barack's greatest message was about service. He believed that we all have a role. Whether we are students, workers, parents, or leaders, we can serve others. We can work for justice. We can build bridges. We can make a difference, no matter how small. In his later years, Barack often thought about his childhood, about the ocean in Hawaii, the busy streets of Indonesia, the classrooms of Columbia, the neighborhoods of Chicago, and the halls of the White House. He remembered his mother's kindness, his grandmother's wisdom, and his father's dreams. He remembered his failures and his successes. He remembered that life is a journey, not just a destination. One evening, Barack sat with Michelle in their garden, under a sky full of stars. He talked about their daughters, now grown, and their hopes for the next generation. He spoke softly, "We have done much. But our work is not done." Michelle nodded. They both believed it. The work of making the world more fair, more kind, more hopeful, never really ends. Barack believed that his story, and everyone's story, could inspire others. He believed that when people hear about him, they should not just see a president, but a human being, someone who had dreams, who faced fear, who worked hard, who served, who loved, and who hoped. At the end of his life, whether in his later public life or in his quieter personal moments, Barack Obama continued to dream. Not for himself, but for others. He dreamed of a world where young people studied under bright lights, where communities cared for each other, where freedom meant opportunity, and where hope always had a place. And so, Barack Obama's story became more than a story. It became a living example that from humble beginnings, with courage, wisdom, and kindness, a person can change the world. He taught us that we are never alone, that our voices matter, and that our dreams can be the seeds of a better tomorrow.